beginning to get on my nerves. Who are those guys?
Welcome back, everybody, to, is this episode 5 or 3A? Someone tell me, guys, where the heck are we? We're episode 2 of the show. And I
Episode
think this
2,
is
part 5.
part 5. Right, we got rid of the A-B thing. We're going from the wolf lick to the finale of episode 2 today, although we'll probably cut that into 2 episodes. Our break, I think, is going to be at the Matt and Perrin dagger scene, which is all sorts of cringe. But anyways, it's your favorite drunk white cloak, Dane Bornhold here, with my digital Playmobil face. You guys know Pips with his digital horse face and Alex with your digital black face. And we are joined today with a very special guest, Hannah, who looks surprisingly like Commander Sisko from Deep Space Nine. But
Yeah, the
that
test captain.
exactly. But anyway, I'm back drinking wine. Pips, what are you drinking? Then let's throw it over to Alex, who can introduce Commander Sisko and his special connection to this fine lady.
I'm drinking some Bell Mead Sour Mash straight bourbon. It was a birthday present that a friend gave me, and it is lovely.
Happy birthday, unless that was a while ago.
It was a little bit ago.
Excellent.
Nice.
Alex,
Happy
what are you
birthday,
drinking?
I'm drinking Miller Lite.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, I'm a basic bitch. So Hannah, what are you up to tonight?
Well, I'm even more of a basic bitch. I am drinking Diet Ruby Grapefruit Whitecloaks because I'm on a diet. So I don't even know if this could get me intoxicated if I've had 5 of them, but we'll see. I'll do my best. And
Excellent.
so, hi, I'm Hannah, and I just wanted to make the announcement that this podcast is now above criticism because we have achieved gender diversity. So, congratulations.
Excellent.
Anyone who downvotes or leaves a mean comment, sorry to say, you hate women. So,
Well, I hate
congratulations.
to burst your bubble on that. I think you actually are our third female guest. Although I want to stress that that's just my personal thoughts. I am, I think, guilty of assuming people's genders when I make that statement. But yeah, I think third.
Third. Oh, man.
No,
So we've already achieved gender diversity.
Hey, you're
Well,
on the
Just reading
podium.
down
I mean,
notes.
as third, you're on the podium. So you know
I
that's
think
still
we've
good.
achieved a lot of gender diversity, right? Because we had Aludra and Trip on before. Like we're keeping it up, kind of getting a lot of women guests. But Hannah,
Well-
can you tell us a bit of your connection maybe to Alex, other than being dominant black men in your avatars, and your connection to the Wheel of Time?
We're
before
so
we start?
canceled.
Oh, yeah. So he's my brother.
Whoa!
Yeah, partially.
I did not know that Gene Siskel's brother played in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, excellent.
Lesser known fact. His dad had a Creole restaurant, and absolutely, yeah. It's a very successful family.
I'll say more than
But
mine.
yeah. So for me, I'm definitely kind of a Johnny come lately to the whole Wheel of Time thing. I watched the show around Christmas, and it was sort of a like, oh, look at that dumpster fire that's happening in my neighbor's yard. Like, I can't look away. I felt bad for y'all. Like, I'd been there when it was, Comicsgate and, the Star Wars schism and the, all that kind of stuff was going on. The Weeb Wars, all that. But like, Wheel of Time didn't really mean much to me at the time. So I'm like, wow, this is a terrible show. I hate it. But I kind of wanted to see the fallout in the fandoms, and Daniel Green made me be like, oh wow, I'd never read these books. But then Shadiversity of all people was like, please don't let the show represent the books. They're actually really good books. And I'm like, oh, maybe. But then Alex started telling me like, no, actually, there's some really good stuff in these books. And so I just started burning through them. Like the year 2022 has basically been my year of Wheel of Time. I bought it, got the audiobooks. I have a long commute, so I've been reading and listening and trading off. And yeah, now it's not really a fire in my neighbor's yard anymore. Now the fire's in my yard, and it's deeply upsetting. So I was planning on doing a whole rewatch for season 2 to kind of get all the outrage back, but This will be interesting to do.
So I have
this
to
is
ask.
very interesting. So
Yeah, I have to ask.
go
I
ahead,
think
Bruce.
Dane's probably going the same direction here. So first of all, have you finished the series? And then second of all, man, I know we're time limited here. We got something we're trying to do, but I really just I'm really interested in the idea that somebody who had never seen the show was still offended by it. I mean, I'm not surprised, but I am interested in that sort of process.
Never read the series, but still offended by the show.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm not that
Okay,
drunk.
no worries. Well, just it was like a very Captain Planet casting, and it was like a very a lot of the gender politics
I
were
like
very obvious. Like,
I
it just
like
felt
I
really
like that.
weak. It just
Captain
really,
Planet casting? I think
yeah,
that's the funniest thing that's ever been fucking said on this whole fucking channel ever. And
Oh,
I'm
I did
sorry,
not say
I'm
that.
back into real world swearing.
I was gonna say,
That's-
Dane, you
That's
already
the flaming funniest thing I've heard. Captain Planet casting. Sorry, go ahead. Well done.
It's like you walk into an LA truck stop. That's the kind of like casting it is. But and then like it was just like very misandrist, world. And Daniel Green would like defended that vociferously, and as well as the casting and the sexuality. My like initial impression was that this was like a modern fantasy series that like some millennial had written, and then it got adapted into Amazon and stuff. And I was like, oh, this is
No,
horrible.
couldn't be farther
all
from
the
the truth.
millennials were employed by Amazon. This was the
Yeah.
opposite of millennial.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it was Alex and Shadiversity saying like, no, that's not what this is at all. And then obviously I read Eye of the World, got about 70 pages in, like completely fell in love and was like, oh my god, this is gonna be the next few months of my life now. The prose is so good. So
Well, this is honestly this is amazing because a lot of people have noted, well, at least the show is getting people to read the books. Like it's getting us to reread the books. I mean, Alex
Yep,
Pips and I, we're
yep.
all on rereads right now, and when you go through our Discord, a lot of people have just been prompted to reread the books, arguably as like a brain enema. I've lamented in the past that if the show is actually good, you'd probably get more people reading the books. But you, along with Oz from Shadiversity or Night's Watch, started reading the books because the show was so awful. So that I think is the one saving grace is people are watching the show and being like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. I can't believe you like these books. And then book readers being like defending it, being like, no, this show is grade A awful. Read the books, read 70 pages, read the prologue, right? Tell
Yeah.
me that this book isn't awesome and that this show isn't crap. So people who are getting convinced to read the books, all they have to do is read the prologue and the shoe drops already. Why didn't we see this? Right? Why didn't we see a freaking volcano? And why did we get the arrogance instead? And that just so I guess that's a good thing that people are reading the books because of the show, but it's going about it the complete opposite way that a Game of Thrones did. People are reading the books because the show is bad, and I'll only say it's unfortunate because more people would be reading the books if the show was good. But great that you're reading the books. I'm super excited for that, and I think you'll give us a different perspective as we kind of go through this rewatch, at least in this little bit. So
yeah, because I know you guys are like old pros who have been reading it for like 45 years, so it's like a comfortable marriage with you guys. Where it's
in
like,
aggregate,
I've
in
known it
aggregate,
for
I'm not
long.
even 45 years old.
Oh, okay. But you've been with them a lot longer. Whereas with me, it's like a new relationship. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, did I tell you about Dumai's Wells? It was so exciting. Like, oh my gosh, and
Well, we are
there's
going
a lot more
to
excitement.
be very happy to get your input on this rewatch then, and I guess Lord Captain can welcome you fully, but I'll still say, hey, welcome, walk in the light, and I think we got to kick this.
Fair enough.
Cool.
All right, so Alex is starting it. This is where we left off the last time. So we clearly found out that these are dogs, that there aren't the full 10 of them. And apparently all they need to do is lick Perrin once and he gets healed.
And I think here is where we even stopped talking about the scene and started talking about the fact that nothing had happened in the previous 15 minutes of the show for us to even complain about. It was the most boring 15 minutes of television ever.
Yeah, So this is something we've noticed with these episodes, and sorry if it's less entertaining. Um, but compared to the first episode, where there was a lot to basically gripe about, in fact, our March Madness that we did on our Discord, which was all Alex's idea originally, it's kind of mind-boggling how many of the worst moments of the show that made it into the final 16 were either from the first episode or from the very last episode, both which were the ones that Rafe wrote or Rajanor wrote. But part of the reason I think too why episode 2 and 3 get high ratings is most of it is them actually riding on horses and not doing anything. So there's less for us to complain about, which just kind of let that sink in. But that all being said, I know we take our time with all this and we try and get it done with a 3-to-1 ratio that we never hit. Someone actually posted in our Discord with a good suggestion. Just watch us on 1.25, 1.5, or 1.75 speed.
We sound so much more sober.
Yeah. You get through it quicker, and our slurring of words, especially towards the latter half of the episode, you don't notice it as much. So we'll sound more comprehensible. But for a section like this, where they're just sitting around a campfire and looking dour, yeah, speed it up. Let's get through this. Nothing's happening. She doesn't need sleep, Land. She needs fucking Aes Sedai healer. She's gonna die. She's lasted like 3 days longer than Tam did with a bigger wound.
Yeah.
I'm getting drunker. What do you guys think?
I hate that, like, in stories like this, it's like, oh yeah, she's got a major stab wound. This is really bad. Up until the moment, and then she's like, just puts a white bandage on it. It's fine. And then up until the moment where it's dramatically relevant, then all of a sudden she's out of commission.
And,
Like that,
and she
so convenient.
and she wasn't even stabbed in the story. Like the actual book, she didn't get hurt. This
No,
is additional drama for no frickin' reason. It's a little bit lore breaking, and
I
it
think it's a little bit. Go ahead.
ultimately, I think the only reason why they did this is so that it can be Land's decision that they go to
Yeah,
Shadur Lagoth.
I agree with you. That's what I was going to say. I think this was how they were going to blame the man and absolve Moraine of any wrongdoing.
And everybody, that's a woman who said that. Everybody listen, that was a woman who said it, who says that this is misandrist.
And use the word misandrist. But it definitely was misandrist. I was just saying it was dumb as hell. They seem like they're protecting Rosamund Pike. Like they really feel like she's like the Yas Queen mommy character. Like, I don't know. It's very bizarre the way the narrative like almost bends around her to protect her. It's like very Mary Sue writing.
And by doing that, they undermine her. But let's continue. Lan we see is not sleeping because they're in a pentagram around here. So Lan is not with them. They're sitting around the fire. Of course,
Now,
it's Egwene who wakes up.
yep. Notice who senses the fade.
So
Not
is
Matt.
Moraine still sleeping here? So she's actually the first one that wakes?
No, she's passed out there with her wound. It's Egwene who sees the Sarlacc.
See, I
That
thought
is
that the warder could also sense them.
so he's already
Good.
awake, so we don't really
Oh.
see it, but he should have felt him well before that for sure. And
Well,
yeah, the
They
Sarlacc
haven't
pit
seen him
mouth.
for days. They haven't seen him for days, even though it's been like 2 days since the ferry. But
How hard would it have been for them to have had crows following them this whole time? They could have just periodically just shown crows on the branches and things like that. Ugh.
Convert the slimy bat budget into a flying crows budget, and it would have been perfect.
Convert the wig budget into a show run by someone else budget.
or just cast people that don't need fucking wigs. I mean, bloody wigs.
Well, you have to give them wigs if you cast the wrong
If you
people.
If you cast Commander Cisco with that bald scalp, yes. But anybody who's gonna, oh man, Alex, that hair that you've got going on, that would be fantastic.
I think the accusation is that someone's
I-
got to weave.
Well, I will say that I have Benjamin Sisko hair in real life, so Don't take my word for it, but I was just going to say that wigs are very common in the sense that like these productions take like 9 months and they're not necessarily shot in order, so it's a lot of work to make sure that people's like their hair and their beards like are consistent throughout the scene. And you notice this with Matt a lot because Matt's beard goes from scruffy to kempt to scruffy all the time in this episode. So, like, I don't even hate the wigs so much. What I did hate is, like, imagine if the Fade had sent the Trollocs to, like, circle around instead of posing super dramatically. Like, how long was that Fade there before Egwene woke up?
It was probably waiting for her to wake up, actually.
That's what I
Like,
thought it was doing too. I just don't know why.
I'm imagining it's like throwing little pebbles down at them, like trying
Wake
to.
up! Wake up!
You awake?
I'm here.
Don't wake your
Sense
parents.
me.
Yeah.
Oh,
All
God.
right, I'm gonna play it. I also hate the jaw. Like, you can't bite anybody with that jaw. Like, that's not a predator mouth.
Yeah, it's a sarlacc mouth. It's basically you gotta open it up and wait for Jabba the Hutt to throw something in. Okay, can we pause right here? Um, so in the subtitles it said Shatter Logoth, but this is the first time that anyone says Shatter Logoth in the show. And I know it's a bit of a thing in the whole Wheel of Time community that everybody has their pronunciations a little bit differently. I know I was a little bit guilty on certain things growing up. The Aiel, I called aisle, like it's an aisle in a store.
And you were
Um,
giving me shit for Faley?
well, that's unforgivable, but this is where I'm going. This is the worst one. I have never come across anybody who mispronounced Shadar Logoth. Because it sounds as written. Like you read Shadar and you read Logoth. Okay, that's what it is. You go back to the glossary if you want to check, am I getting this right? And that's exactly how it says you should pronounce it. This is the first time I've ever heard anything in the universe say Shadur Lagoth. Like there's apostrophes there, hanging participles or whatever the technical term of it is. And and since this show aired, I've heard other people say it too. And this more than any mispronunciation grates on my nerves because it's not Shadur Lagoth. It's
So
Shadar Logoth.
So I will agree.
It's not hard.
I've always said Shadar Logoth,
Yeah.
or Shadar Logoth.
Same.
Sort of a softer O, I suppose. But I was admittedly wrong for a very long time about Tarvalon saying Tarvalon because that's what the audiobooks say.
Same.
So I could possibly imagine how what are they saying? Shadar Logoth.
No, they say Shadur Lagoth.
Okay,
So
that sounds really wrong.
They lose the A.
If they said
Shadar
Shadar,
and Logoth.
if they said Shadar Logoth, I could maybe
That's how
see. I don't know. It makes me want to dig into how Robert Jordan maybe pronounced it at some of the QAs and or Q&As and things like that. Because I've been wrong on this before, and we know that the audiobooks are not necessarily a good indicator. And there are some good references out there about how to actually pronounce these. But I think at the end of the day, this is pretty small potatoes in the grand scheme of cinema sins that's happening in this episode.
It's not because this keeps coming back, and it's the most annoying thing.
And I just want to say that this is the first and last time, at least in this part, that I'm going to even tangentially defend the show. You guys can mark it.
You need to drink more, is what you need to do. So down some bourbon. But here's the thing: of all the things in the Wheel of Time where you could get into a pronunciation dispute, Shadar Logoth, that's the last one. Because I've never heard anybody who's ever read this pronounce it differently than from what I pronounced it as, or as it was in the glossary. Aiel, Faley. Okay, never mind. Loyal, Loyal. I've heard Moghedian versus Mogadine, Asmodine versus Asmodion, Roydian versus Ruidian. Like, there's a lot of them out there that exist, but Shadar Logoth is not one of them. And this show, I don't know why they're doing this. I think they're just pointing out they're being bloody retards. Anyways,
What I don't understand is why did they sacrifice those phonemes that made it sound like the word shadow? Like that made it sound more imposing and like scary. Why did they intentionally pronounce it in such a way that makes it sound less scary?
Yeah, it's shadows waiting, but
Especially when
yeah,
the term actually Shadar is the sort of old tongue of shadow, right? So like
yep.
it sort of shows a derivation that actually makes sense. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's a really good
Shadow
point to bring
Logoth,
up.
the shadows waiting. Let's save this for a little bit. I'm going to get political when we get to an explanation about Shadow Logoth and its history, because there's another bit of butchery that they did about Shadow Logoth, um, and I'm going to apologize well in advance for getting political on it. But let's save that conversation for a bit later, and let's do another stupid Trolloc chase.
Yeah. I kind of agree with Dan. I do find the mispronunciation annoying.
It is
I will
annoying, I will agree.
I will also
It's
say you
annoying because it's the only one that is inexplicable. Like everything else, okay, people are free to have their own headcanon. I don't think anybody had headcanon of Shadar Logoth until this show came out.
Let's just think here for a second. The scene that we're missing right here is the actual like battle between where like Moraine like opens up the earth, creates a wall of fire. Lan and the boys go in and actually like have their first taste of like slashing about, killing Trollocs and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Kariel
Matt,
Kaldazar, Kariel
exactly,
Kaldazar.
exactly. Matt gets a catch pole around the neck, foreshadowing him getting hung. And instead, we get like poorly lit, sort of forested area, which doesn't really make sense based on that they're in the fields of Carlon, right? The Carlon grass.
Well, let's get back
That's
to
actually
pronunciation. I call it Caroline.
either way. My point is that
Yeah,
like
see, but that's a legit dispute about
this is not.
pronunciation, and Shadar Logoth is not.
I'm
That's
just
my
saying,
whole
not
point.
only did they actually create a scene for the wrong setting, they removed another of Moraine being a badass. Like, she does the whole
Be-
thing to, like, send them on
because
a
she's
false
wounded.
trail. So she sends them on a false trail. She opens up the ground. She catches them on fire. Lan kills a freaking Myrddraal, which is awesome. And then,
And kills 100 Trollocs linked to that Myrddraal, right?
exactly. And so a
other
loss
cool
of world
concepts
building
anyway.
there as well. Yeah. So there's so much stuff that they just decided to like throw away in order to have this campy, poorly lit, badly CGI'd chase scene.
Oh, dude, why have an awesome battle when instead you can have the worst of Teen Wolf on MTV? Like, I mean, like, who's running the show?
Alex,
Professionals?
you raise a very good
Chronicles of
point.
Narnia came out in 2005, and they had better like shadow army creatures than this.
$15 million an episode, ladies and gentlemen.
Is it that much?
I think when you count in all of the production costs and like marketing and everything else, yeah. The initial stuff said that they put in $10 million an episode, but I think as like more sort of digging came through, it was like, well, it was like $10 to $12 million an episode just in the like actual creation of the episodes. And then when you think of their worldwide marketing campaigns and stuff like that, they actually ended up doling closer to like 13 to 15.
Are any of you guys Czech?
we
No.
Okay,
Dane,
good,
we know that you hate the Czech.
well, kind of, because
What? Go ahead.
they stole the Dutch lion. Their whole symbol is like, oh, the lion or whatever. The Czechs are not the lions of Europe. Okay, that's the Dutch. The Czechs can go fuck themselves.
Can go burn themselves.
As opposed to the British who have 3 lions on their flag. Like, I mean, every nation in Europe has lions.
No. Because the Belgians are the Red Devils. The French have a frickin' rooster, and we laugh at them. The Germans have an eagle. The Danes, who gives a shit? But 3 lions. They're overcompensating for something. That's quite obvious. But the Czech, if you look at the Czech line and the Dutch line, they obviously copied us. Can't stand the Czechs. Glad none of you are Czechs. The Czechs are probably the worst people on earth. But it's quite clear from this production that everybody in this show, from a technical side, cut their teeth on Eastern European porn, and it shows.
Well, the only thing that I'm going to say, and maybe I'm wrong about this, in which case someone can correct me in the comments, but I feel like the Czech are also famous for their Pilsners, which is the worst beer ever. So that's really all I need to know.
It's
Well,
not the word.
I disagree with that, but I will say your comments are actually almost linked in a way that I don't think you guys realize is the $80 million number that was posted was the listed budget for this show.
Mhm.
The actual expenditures ranged on the low end at like 94, 95 to upwards of 110.
Yes.
And a lot of that was, some of that was COVID stuff. A lot of it was the remobilization costs, but an even greater extent was um, this show refusing to use local Czech people because
But
they were held
you can't
hostage by.
you can't use the locals. Obviously, you have to ship in people because the
Oh wait,
locals Czechs are like 99% white.
Well, that's exactly what the issue was. Is
you use
according to
locals for the Whitecloaks, at least in part.
Well, yeah, I mean that's exactly what happened. In order to meet Amazon's racial quotas behind the camera and in front of the camera, they couldn't use cheap locals, so they had to fly people in from other countries and house them in the Czech Republic in order to make this show, causing to some extent significant overages in their shooting budget. Like that's actually on the record as having happened for this. So like you can't blame the
Uh,
Czechs when Amazon was so bigoted that they wouldn't use the Czechs in the first place.
That's true.
Blame them a little bit.
You're wrongly blaming the Czechs. No Czechs had a hand in this production because they were all too white. If we weren't canceled before, we're canceled now.
No, like you can rip on the Czechs all you want. They don't give a shit.
I just
Like,
love
They're
how
white.
nobody
Much
in
more.
this scene is even drawing a weapon. And again, contrast that to what we saw in the
No,
actual
so
story.
in
Ugh.
this part right here, and let's get back to the show, and I'll stop being racist against Czechs. Um,
You bigot.
notice how they're saying what's going on, what's happening, like they couldn't see the giant 100-foot fucking wall in front of them, being like, maybe this is why that horse doesn't
Oh,
want to keep going.
I
Oh, that
love
wall.
that.
Well,
Now, this is also the dumbest crack in a wall I've ever seen, and of course it's CGI. They have some rocks scattered around the ground like it fell, but I
Are you telling me you don't think that cracks propagate perfectly straight and that there's no like V-shaped crack in a wall? That it's just a thin slit?
well, is this dilapidation or was there an earthquake that ran right through here and the wall got pulled apart? And then why isn't there like a crevasse kind of running through the ground here? But I think we're overthinking this, like we do 90% of the stuff when with regards to the show. But there's not enough stone on the ground to make up for the gap in this wall. But um, let's advance a little bit when they start doing the dialogue about what Shadur Logoth, because this is not Shadur Logoth. Like Shadur Logoth, yes, it had a wall, but this is not what it looked like in anyone's head canon. It's not a city with a ridiculous 150-foot wall surrounding everything. That again, the
How
Trollocs are
stupid
right
is that?
here
So
and
dumb.
Trollocs aren't
stopping.
scared of walls, remember? So it's really pointless.
Apparently, none of these Trollocs have the throwing knives that they had in episode 1.
But also because Moraine can't lie, walls won't stop Trollocs, except
Yeah.
this one.
That's what she said.
Well, I was going to say, how bad was the editing in this that they freaking destroyed the tension by, okay, they're running away,
Mm-hmm.
they stop, they see
Yep.
the wall, and
No,
then
they stop
oh,
and say, "What the heck is wrong with our horses?" And then they see the wall like they're fucking idiots.
yes, and
Flaming
then they note
idiots,
the
Dane.
Trollocs. So
Flaming.
thank God that like they somehow knew that the Trollocs were also going to stop because they're like, "Ooh, that's a big wall. Let's take a moment to stop and ponder this." And then they're like, "Oh yeah, the Trollocs. What are the Trollocs doing? Oh, the Trollocs have stopped too. Well, that
This
was
seems like a
great."
perfect opportunity for a panoramic shot.
Let's go
Like,
in.
All the
like,
momentum is dead.
like
I
wouldn't
know.
it been Trollocs then wall, guys? Trollocs wall. Like, come on.
I know it's not canon, but it would have been real tense to like have that cliche horror movie thing where the Trollocs' arms are reaching in through the gap of the wall. It's the wall; they can't get past it. You know, they're able to go right up to the gate, but
Gosh,
they can't
how
go past
dumb is that the break in the wall is wider at the base than at the top?
Started at the base.
These people,
If you
it's fine.
squint your eyes, could you justify it as a 1 power crack? Like that is
Nope.
the only
No.
possible
It's fine.
justification I can come up with.
Physics doesn't exist in this world. There's magic here. Just
Just-
consume the product.
No. It's
All right,
even
I will
worse.
consume the
It's
Someone more
product.
smooth when
Just-
it was with the power.
just take a look at the wall and the rocks lying on the side. It's obvious CGI. Like the mixing of real effects and practical. Or
Hey, that
practical
one
effects and digital.
that one
effects,
rock over here on the right actually looks like the one that was ripped out of the Wine Spring Inn.
Yeah, it's probably the
right.
same model, but
It's the same texture pattern that they paste over the CGI is what it is. But
Yeah. But let's keep in mind too. Other people have pointed out that this Shadur Lagoth set, is the exact same one that they used for Tarvalon.
That is true.
yep.
It's the same place, so it's the same interior set. All this wall is CGI. The fallen rocks are CGI, and they're just trotting inside like this is nothing, and the Trollocs are staying behind. And this is the complete opposite as to how it ran.
And
in the
again,
books because Moraine sent a diversion.
Yep.
The Myrddraal that were chasing them couldn't possibly believe that they would be stupid enough to go into Shadar Logoth. Pat and Fane got sent in there. The Myrddraal. Who did the Myrddraal fear more than whatnot, so that they chased the Trollocs in there, etc. Like it's a great tense moment in the books, and it's completely lost here. And let's get an explanation of what Shadar Logoth is and Shadur Logoth is in the show as we listen to Lan destroy even more canon coming
Shitter
up.
Logan, here we go.
Ugh.
Shadur Plagoth.
The only thing I'll give them credit for here is that they have the correct amount of horses.
Shout out to Marcus Rutherford, who by nature of being the largest actor got to hold Miran Pike. Like, just like, yep, here, this is yours, carry it.
Carry her like she's carrying the show.
There's no birds. There's no bugs. Shut up, Perrin.
Who is ever walking around saying like there should be more insects here?
There's more bugs in this city. Where are the bugs in this city? I don't
That
feel
was them trying to make Perrin be like the thoughtful guy.
Oh, I don't even want to talk about Perrin being the thoughtful guy. We'll see more of that in the next couple episodes of him being the more thoughtful guy.
No, I think you're completely right, though. Being like, man, it's been a long time since I've seen a spider.
All right. So, okay, Moraine's hurt. Here they're gonna stable the horses outside. If you've read the books, you know they do the complete opposite and they bring the horses inside. Why? Well, it's a dangerous frickin' place, but
Well, also,
to
Moraine is awake during this whole process in the books.
she-
So the whole
she
like
makes a
pawning this
ward.
off, pawning this off on Lan and then not having Moraine make a ward, like you said, is just like, oh well, this turned out poorly, so we should probably make it a man's fault. It's like, fuck, just damn
Really,
it.
no matter
Okay, it is important to note here. We had 5 horses when we
Yes.
put them in place. So remember, 5.
No, it's 5 black horses and 1 white horse.
4 black horses, 1 white horse.
Wait. Can we pause a sec? Lan's on a black horse.
Yep.
Perrin's on a black horse with Moraine.
Yep.
Matt, Egwene, and Rand all are on a black horse, and I think Matt is also trailing Aldib. So there are 6 horses, and that was in an earlier shot. And I don't know if in the shot just previous to this, if there were only 5, that might be an editing thing. But
No, there was definitely at least the empty Aldib. So okay, I think you're right.
Yeah. In the establishing shots going into Shadar Logoth or Shadur Logoth, there are 6 horses.
I think Alex is right. Shadurp Lagoth.
Derp. All right. So they go into, this is at least kind of somewhat from the books. Okay, they go into a big area. I don't know why they aren't bringing their horses into this. It's like, okay, you don't want your horses taking crap inside. Like, I don't know why, but anyways, let's keep going. This is stupid. I think Lan is going to give us our history of Shadar Logoth right now.
Sure.
Exposition time.
Gosh, I love how short Lan is.
He's
Absolutely.
6'2", right?
He's a freaking hobbit compared to just Perrin walking behind him.
And we get to see another close-up of her gross frickin' wound. Let's just remember that for episode 3. Shadar Logoth. Sounds like the old tongue. Oh, you're a scholar, aren't you, Igor? All right,
Mm,
keep going.
she's the one who should know that, huh?
Matt should
Right,
really
one
be
eye
the
for the
one. Matt's the
bad.
only one who knows anything about the old tongue.
Remember, he's
Well,
the
that's
to.
only
Oh
because
no, wait, that never happened.
it means shadows. Okay, that's true. Okay, Land's going to give us our exposition dump. Great. Let's just get through this and I can explain everything that's wrong with what he says. Okay, it was once called Eridol, yep, during the Trolloc Wars. Okay, I don't know if it was the richest.
I think
When
that's
the world
Needed the
needed them
most.
most, they built their wall with no gate. That is the dumbest fucking thing that has ever been written in the history of mankind.
Well,
And
I can tell you
this is
exactly what
where we
happened.
get this is where it gets political because right here they're making a dig at Donald Trump and the frickin'
Oh,
border wall on the southern on the Mexican border. That's all that they're doing. Right here. They built a wall with no gate. No one does that. If you're rich and you're dependent on trade, you build gates in it. And that's not what happened to Eridol. Eridol got poisoned by a evil counselor named Mordeth, who basically came with a different kind of evil, the evil of suspicion, the evil of righteous people who saw evil in others and not in themselves. And holy shit, if there isn't a stronger parable for defenders of this show and elements of the fandom that took down the Whitecloaks subreddit and paint all of us as racists, it's these fucking people need to reread The Eye of the World and maybe see a little bit of themselves in the evil that consumed Eridol, because that's what it is. It's the accusations. It's the zealotry. Like I made this comment to Prophet of the Dragon when I was interviewed by him. The one person on Earth who sounds the most like Dane fucking Bornhold in the Shadow Rising is that moderator of that fucking subreddit that got us nuked. Who, if you swap out Shadow Spawn or Dark Friend with Incel and Touch Grass, it's this asshat. These people need to reread The Eye of the World and see themselves in the evil that consumed Eridol because it's them. It's not Trump and 100-foot wall, which is what the show is trying to paint it as. It's the suspicion and it's the self-righteousness of seeing evil in everybody else but themselves that destroyed Eridol and turned it into Shadar Logoth.
it's
Anyways,
just sad because people don't see themselves like that. You know, they don't see themselves within the character traits, within their actions. They need to see themselves in the physical, the skin deep. You know, that's why there's so much crazy casting, stuff. I think I really need to see myself within. That's why this person needs to be gay. That's why this person needs to be black and all that. The zero self-awareness, zero self-reflection, zero of like interacting with a piece of art beyond what is skin deep and what is superficial. So it'll never happen.
yeah, but it goes deeper than that. I honestly think that these showrunners were probably offended by the description of Eridol and what happened to Shadar Logoth because maybe they could see a little bit of it in themselves. Maybe they could see that Robert Jordan was describing the evil that they embody. Um, and that's why they decided to change it to a rich, prosperous town or city building a 150-foot wall with no gate around it. Like that wouldn't be the stupidest fucking thing that anyone's ever done in the universe. Um,
I
so
think I think that you were right originally. I think that they were just trying to, they couldn't have Mordeth wear a red hat, so they had to do something else. But it's at the
if
end of the
anything,
day,
he would have been chairman of the Clinton Foundation. For fuck's sake! And I'm saying this as a Canadian.
at the
What's
end
wrong
of the
with you?
at the end of the day, I'm less interested in the political aspects and things like that than I am about what
yeah,
they're
yeah.
actually doing to the story here.
So,
So I think
what
I think
I'm
you guys are
griping
making some
about
points, but
this isn't like when you talk about like they built in a giant wall, which although there is a wall around Eridol in the books, it's not described as being super imposing and impassable as this. It's definitely not described as being with no gate because they go through a fucking gate. And the evil that poisoned Eridol and turned it into Shadar Logoth was not a fear of minorities outside their walls. It's the opposite. Like it is um, the it's the self-righteousness that is embodied by the Whitecloaks. Like there's a reason, at least early on in the books, um, there's a reason why you get introduced to Dane Bornhold and the Whitecloaks first, and then afterwards, like a couple chapters later, you get introduced to a type of evil that is the embodiment of the Whitecloaks. Like it's meant to move the reader along and be like, oh, wait a second, this is why I don't like the Whitecloaks, because even though they hang dark friends and are zealots for the light, they are a different kind of evil. That's what they're going for. Does the show establish any type of connection between Shadar Logoth or Shadar Logoth and Eamon Valda and the Whitecloaks? Absolutely not. This fails on so many levels.
Oh, they said, hey, this place, Shitter Logoth, they have a wall, and that is a perfect place for a Trump metaphor. Didn't think about it any further than that.
I had to go reread to see if Shadar Logoth even had a wall, because it wasn't the key description of it. It was a dilapidated, dark, shadowy area or shadowy city that looked abandoned. And
For sure,
so
the things
it could have
that
filled
kept
10 Barrelons inside of it. Like,
yeah, the thing that kept people out of Shadar Logoth is nothing to do with the wall and everything to do with Mashadar and this sort of evil that lives there.
yeah, and the evil, when it's described, and when Moraine kind of gives the context about Mordeth and Mashadar, and it's suspicion of your neighbors. It's and it was that Eridol fell into basically hating the shadows so much that they turned on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is a full spoiler thing. This is the antithesis of the evil of the Dark One, and these two evils are what consume each other, and it's ultimately what cleanses the taint on Saidin. So, yeah.
And I'm saying no one thought of that. I'm saying they saw a cheap way to do a political dig that made them all happy, made everybody kind of tingle, and they just went for it.
And it sucks.
I think you
so
guys are
freaking
making
hard.
the same point. I was
Yep.
actually going to ridicule them for the jacking the Avatar: The Last Airbender with the and when the world needed him most, he vanished. But both of you make far better points than what I had. I was just going to make fun of them on ripping off the line of dialogue word for word.
I mean, I do like the Last Airbender metaphors in that, we'd all like to live in a place where there is no show in Ba Sing Se, but
Reach.
Here we go. We're getting some exposition about the Trolloc Wars. Yep.
I like Matt's line coming up here.
Because it is the most freaking dialogue that Lan has said in the show.
Felt a little quick.
But it is said that evil itself grew from the city's heart. Yeah, okay. So it's you cut yourself off from the world and you'll turn evil. No, that's not what happened to this city. It's not that they cut themselves off. It is suspicion grew out. Like, just fuck. Everybody who thinks that this show is good, just go read the books and tell me that's not better. I'm so tired.
All right, let's keep going. This is the lore here. Obviously, is trashed. It's not.
Yeah,
there's nothing there's nothing necessarily really wrong with these scenes, other than knowing that it's just a pale shadow of what we could have seen. I really don't understand the person who's like, I want to show this show in a feminist light, and does it by like making Moraine essentially on the sidelines for a full like 2 episodes with her wound. That
whole episode.
Yeah. Like all of the cool stuff that she did, let's just cut that out and have her instead laying on the ground insensate. and that'll be how you make a feminist sort of telling of the Wheel of Time.
I'm just sad. I really liked the Shatter Logoth and the boys got together and they went on a like little adventure. They were like, "Holy shit, we've never seen buildings like this before! Oh my gosh! And look at this treasure!" It was so much fun. The books were so
But
fun.
it's a little bit more campy, and maybe this has to do with the whole aging up, aging down. Although I said that's modernizing versus not. Um, but yeah, you bring up a good point, Hannah. Is we don't see any of that. We don't see Matt being a rascal. You don't see him getting Perrin and Rand into trouble. And instead, as we'll see, inexplicably, Matt goes out and he just happens to find the dagger. Perrin doesn't do jack shit other than cry. And actually, that's all he does, cry and open his mouth. And Rand gets to have a fun scene with Egwene as Rots and Rachel holding hands on a balcony. Like,
well, let's actually go ahead and see some of that then, because at a certain point we got to get through this. If we keep going at this pace, my liver's going to give out before we get to the end of this.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Matt being like, "You don't. That's the most you said all day." Like, yes, because we forgot to tell you that Lan is stoic. That's the most he said all day. Thanks, Matt.
So here's another quick thing I'll point out. What in Light's name? That's from a line just 2 frames previously. What in Light's name do you mean by that? What in light? It's
in the
the
name of
light. It's the light. These people can't even get that right. It's anyways, I'm nitpicking, but
It's because they
I
didn't read the
feel-
book. It's fine.
yeah, they didn't. What in Light's name? The light.
I
not-
almost wish that they had just changed the title of the show and just had it be like, I don't know, Ragenor's Taint instead of the Wheel of Time. And then, hey, whatever. Do whatever you want.
keeping
All
up
right.
with the ancient
Are
eye.
we gonna count horses' asses here? How many do we have?
So I only see 3. Anybody see more? It's kind of shadowy. They could be on the other side of the door, though.
I think there's one behind the white horse.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to
Um,
gauge as well. But there could be
And
one
even
on the
then,
other
that's
side.
only 2.
But no, Hannah, I think you're 100% right. The Keeping Up with the Aes Sedai should definitely have been the name of this show.
That's literally all it is.
Yeah. Also, note the location of these horses. It's going to be important here.
Yeah.
All right, we'll give them 3, maybe 4 horses on that side. Let's see if it pans.
I hate that
No.
coat.
It is terrible.
I really hate that coat.
Yep, there is one more back there.
Yep. Okay.
Oh yeah, you see it after the
Yeah.
the white horse is at. So there are 4 horses at least to the left of the entrance.
I love that this actually. So we were talking about what the story did, and it was Matt, Rand, and Perrin go off to explore the city. But I think we're about to see that actually Egwene explored the city, and Rand just sort of followed her there. Is I think what's happening right now, correct?
So Rand is going to go mope, and Egwene follows Rand.
Oh, okay.
And then
Let's keep playing. Let's see it develop here.
Yeah. But again, talk about filler scenes. Like, why do we need to see this? And there's less to criticize, but I mean, here we're going on minutes and minutes of no
Literally
dialogue.
nothing.
With the boys.
Here's a shot of a city in case you were curious and wondered whether or not they were still in the forest.
So I have a question. Is this more OG Assassin's Creed or is it more OG Gears of War? Like, we're clearly on a 3rd-gen console.
This makes me
which
think.
property of the 3rd-gen console?
This makes me think of if you ever played any of the Total War games. This is like the city when you're in a siege in Total War. That's the amount of graphic sort of capabilities we're dealing with here.
All that CGI budget, and you couldn't get rid of her mole.
Dan, you call it a mole. Other people call it a beauty mark, I think.
Only in frickin' Eridomon.
Will they? Won't they? They're holding hands. OMG. This is what I tune in for Wheel of Time for.
Ross and Rachel. Here we go. Are they on
You know what's
again, or are they
interesting?
off again?
I hate to do this, but I think his sword changed sides from when he walked up to the building to where he is now.
No. It's been on his left, but I mean,
His
we
left
know
side.
you might be right on
When he,
this, but
right there. Watch him walk across.
yeah, it's on his
Left. It's
Okay,
in his coat for some reason. We'll ignore the stupidity of that.
when it stuck out for a second in my brain, it just registered as the right side, and so when we saw it here a second ago, I was like, did they switch his?
Yeah, but we already saw it the last episode, and I think Aludra pointed that out that like they flipped frames on him too. And this isn't the
Yes.
first frame flip that we saw, right? It's either the buttons down
Gosh,
Rand's shirt is flipped.
I love like the Flatiron building
Li-
that they're in.
Oh, God.
Well, we've
Layla's
discussed that his
earrings
shirt regularly flips.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Just wait. One of these days, we're gonna see Egwene with the mole on the other side of her face.
If only.
That would at least answer our flipped screen or just pure incompetence in set dressing question. We would at least know the answer to that, which is
Look at
probably
that
the longest running
microfiber.
question.
Look at that garbage microfiber freaking coat.
At least they both have one.
It's just a generic tower. There were like citadels, and there were all sorts of different like architecture. They were all sorts of different places, and we're just in the most generic tower in the entire world.
So I don't necessarily really have a lot of complaints about the actual like set design of the city, right? It's just, you know, the wall is stupid, and the fact that they reuse it for Tarvalon is really the problem. If this was just a unique setting, whatever.
Quick point, you go back, just like 2 seconds, go back to see, if you can, Alex, to see Ren and Egwene on the balcony there. But there's no railing, right? Who the
I
hell?
was gonna bring that up when you saw Rand standing there and it panned up originally. I was like, maybe it rotted out, but definitely not to code.
Yeah. Who flaming builds a building like this? It's like this is Suicide Central. There's like not even a something to climb over for somebody. Who would let a toddler frickin' climb up in this building, right? Because you can step out into open air. I'm pretty sure no one in history ever built buildings like this. Maybe you built wood banisters. Who the hell
rotted
knows?
away? Yeah.
Yeah. But
typically you wouldn't.
Well, it's clearly not a wood banister because there's a stone banister up front for dramatic setting for the upwards looking shot.
Yeah.
But then we couldn't have the banisters on the side because that would block us looking in this way.
I don't think there was a stone banister on the front either. I think even that upward looking shot, that's when I noticed that there was no railing.
It's a nitpick, but it's
a really
so stupid.
Outfits that we didn't want to cover up the outfit. It's the same generic fit, so who cares?
No, you're right. It's not. There isn't. Yeah, this is just a really dangerous building.
Yes.
You know,
hey, maybe that's actually all like a really subtle sort of thing there. They're in a very dangerous place. It has no railings.
Whoa.
Dude, I can't wait for Daniel Green to tell me that the lack of OSHA is actually representative of this being a post-breaking world.
The lack of government-induced or imposed safety standards is proof that the shadow and evil was at work here. And I can say that I am a certified OSHA inspector, so you can tell. I saw it as soon as they did that initial pan up there.
Yeah, all right, you called that one.
So this is the final.
I need another drink before.
I had to refill before. You're falling behind.
Oh man, this is the pull through, guys. This is the last scene before we kind of give up on this. Do a big drink break.
And we are at like 55 minutes, so we do need a push.
Yeah,
I will say this is the last time we see Perrin and Matt have a conversation, and I think probably the last time we see Matt have a conversation.
True enough.
All right, Dan, you wanna cover Layla made it, or do you think we've adequately covered this?
It's a terribly made knife from the look of it. Just pointing that out.
Yeah.
If it wasn't clear already, Layla is the blacksmith. Perrin is his wife's apprentice.
We're actually not even sure he's an apprentice. He might just be married to the blacksmith. Like literally, we saw him pump the handle for the bellows a couple of times, but like that's I mean, I guess a blacksmith's apprentice might also do that, but we haven't seen him making anything. He could have just been like, "Your apprentices aren't here right now, so I'll help you out with the bellows cuz I'm your husband."
He doesn't have an axe. He doesn't demonstrate any skills with blacksmithing. And
Uh,
It's one
it's
thing to take traits from a male character and give it to a female character, like that's already scummy. But then to like have that female character die immediately,
just
so that left meant nothing.
just memory
What a,
hole those traits all together, give them to a character and then kill him off.
yeah, what a waste.
I'm
Uh,
still fascinated. Like if you could put Judkins down with a gun to his head, and ask him like, okay, you talk about Perrin having to kill his wife to maintain sort of the emotional resonance of him like killing the White Cloaks and struggling with violence. Like you identified that as an important trait. How did you miss Perrin being a blacksmith as an important trait? Like that didn't cross your mind as an important aspect of the hammer. What did you think the hammer was? Did you think the hammer was just another weapon? Like the hammer is a blacksmith hammer. You fucking dipshit. Like Jesus.
It made way more sense for me for show Perrin to take it the exact opposite way and be like, these fucking shadow spawns need to be eliminated at all costs. Look what they made me do. I'm going into super violent mode. I'm gonna
That is
kill everything.
that's actually a good point that you're bringing up there. I feel like the normal human response would actually be to like push blame onto other people for that and not to like internalize the blame. Like that's actually it's an interesting point that the killing his wife in the heat of battle in that situation, he might totally not like take that blame himself. He might just, the shadow is so evil.
yeah, but remember who's running the show, and that's why Perrin turns into a vegan.
That's next episode, Dane.
It's several episodes from now, but we'll point that out when
All right.
he
So
becomes a
let's
vegan.
pan forward on the poorly made knife, which I suppose is like a
Always-
straight knife with a weird rivet on the side that makes it look like a folding knife.
Yeah, I was trying to think like is that supposed to be like the pin that holds it in place?
Yes, yeah. It's like it could be a folding knife, in which case, who makes a double bladed, like a double edged folding knife? So I think it's
But
a straight knife. It's just really poorly made.
Do these poor Edmonds fielders have to like ride up to Devonride to get a real sword because their local blacksmith is such a hippie? Like, that's really sad.
It is also interesting when you think about it. The blacksmith there at Emmons Field, which is just the two rivers in the show, because they don't actually call it anything. Look at like the detail work on the handle, which is poorly done, but still like there. Like Master Luhan would have made simple but extremely well made. That was the hallmark of him. That's what Perrin learned. And instead, now we have poorly made with weird little like intricate designs and stuff like that.
But it's not about violence. It's about a good tool.
isn't that the perfect like symbol of this show?
Yes,
Like it it works poorly, but you wanted to
but it's
make
got
it look
flair.
pretty, and that's what you put all of your effort into. But it also doesn't look pretty because you're just bad at your job. Like, Pip, I think you got it. The knife is the show. Also, can we pause a minute to appreciate Matt explaining Perrin's arc from the book to us and how Layla had already done Perrin's arc. So why have a character do an arc when you can simply inform him that his wife, who is apparently just a better version of him, has already done his arc?
That's true. Perrin just needs to put in
Incredible work.
11. He just needs to put in 11 earrings, and then he'll be there.
Needs to hashtag listen to women.
and have a side shave, which could be coming in season 2. We'll see.
Actually, this is another thing that I really likes. He says, she made this. She figured the only thing that I might ever do is whittle wood or cut apples with it. But that I might at some point need to defend myself, so I need to keep it clean and keep it sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my dude, what do you think a whittling knife needs to be? Sharp. Also, don't be cutting apples with a gross ass knife. You're going to get sick. Like, your metaphor doesn't even work in itself.
Also, you don't actually need a very sharp knife to stab someone with it. Like that is a shanking instrument, which hey, Nynaeve is about to show us all about how that goes down. But like that right there, that's just a shiv. Like that doesn't need to slash anyone. You just stab them with that.
It's a pretty shitty knife.
Well, he doesn't have an axe, so he needs something.
There you go. He's got a knife.
Yeah.
I like that the two of them together have 1 4-inch knife.
Doesn't even look that sharp.
uh,
All right. Is this kind of where we'll call a break?
No,
Is
we gotta. There's actually this.
Is there
this
more to
scene
this scene?
actu-
Because this is
it
so
does.
fucking
let's keep
stupid.
going.
Yeah, this is actually
Ugh.
the part of this that didn't make me want to vomit. Is Matt says, I need to defend, someone that I love, which I kind of thought was cool. Like, these guys love each other in a non-gay way. But also, Matt is super sweaty here for some reason.
Ugh.
Kind of gay.
See, I liked that. I think this is Lord of the Rings, um, you know, bromance stuff. This is, Matt trying to console Perrin, them emphasizing that they're close. Perrin is very clearly upset and crying, and Matt is uncomfortable and like doesn't want to be like, "Hey, can you stop crying? You're fucking looking like a little bitch." So I'm just going to ignore it and keep talking. An acknowledgement that Matt tends to get into trouble. I thought this 3 sentences wasn't horrible.
I don't understand
And Perrin
Perrin's
has his
expression
mouth
here,
closed.
though. I don't understand
Stop
Perrin's
defending the
expression.
show.
What is up with like the furrowed brow, like he's deep in concentration, or he's angry, and also the tear running down? Like, is he sad or is he pissed off right now? Like, what is happening?
He's showing his
He's
he's
thinking
showing
about
his acting
Kayla. He's
chops.
sad. He's thinking about his dead wife. Now, granted, he did murder her, but like, if we ignore that part,
Small
if we pretend
detail.
Trollocs murdered her,
Small detail. And then he's laughing. I was thinking about my dead wife, and now I'm laughing, as you do.
At least his mouth is closed.
I don't know.
There it is.
Self-
There it is. Yep. Almost.
Self-
Oh, there. Yep.
Self-deprecating humor. For 45 seconds, I didn't despise it.
Felt a human emotion just now.
Yeah, and Perrin knows Matt is worried about his sisters, and he's trying to comfort him.
It's all undercut by that Rafe Junkins tweet of him saying that he's going to make Perrin and Mad gay out of spite. But it's nice well lasted.
I thought it was Perrin was going to be gay out of spite. All
No,
right.
Perrin and Matt.
Oh, that's
All right. So now we can return to the radioactive portion of our programming, but I think this is also where we wanted to do our break. So
Okay. Well, yep. I think Dane, you got any final thoughts here?
no, man. I got to get to the bathroom, piss like a racehorse because I'm getting low.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back with another Whitecloaks rewatch. Man, I'm freaking drunk.
Not enough.
In another episode here. So thanks for tuning in.